The Claw Queen. In the cold silence of space, there was a small outpost made of steel and machines. It stood on the edge of a dead planet, watching the stars, recording data, and sending signals. The robots there were not made for war. They were made for work, but today they met something else. The alarms began first, loud, sharp, and full of fear. Red lights flashed across the halls as cameras showed a shadow moving across the sand. Not a ship, not a machine, a creature. She walked slowly, but with purpose. Her body was dark and tall, covered in silver armor that was not made by any known species. Her eyes glowed gold. But it was her hands, long, sharp, and terrible claws, that made even steel afraid. Her name was Vakera. She was called many things across the stars. A ghost, a demon, a monster. But everyone feared one name the most: the Claw Queen. The first defense drones flew toward her. Fast, silent, deadly. But they never touched her. With one spin, one slice, her claws cut them into pieces. Sparks danced in the air like fireflies. The machines didn't even have time to scream. Inside the outpost, robots tried to lock the doors. Metal shields fell into place. Guns activated. But it didn't matter. She arrived. Steel doors. They were paper to her. With a scream that shook the walls, she tore them open, one by one. Claws against steel. Steel always lost. Within 5 minutes, the outpost was a graveyard. Torn wires, broken lights, oil mixed with dust. No survivors, no signals. And then, silence. Far away, on a space station orbiting another star, a group of officers watched the footage. They had seen war. They had seen alien beasts. But this was something different. "She doesn't use guns," one whispered. "She doesn't need them," another replied. A man stood in the back of the room. He wore no medals, no shiny suit, just a black jacket and calm eyes. He said nothing as the video ended. "What is she?" the general asked. The man stepped forward. His voice was low, cold. "She's a predator," he said. "But even predators can bleed." The room fell silent. "Do you think you can stop her?" the general asked. "I don't think," the man said. "I know." The general nodded once. "Then it's your mission now." The man turned and walked out. No team, no armor, just him. His name was Commander Reeve. Back on the planet, Vakera stood alone in the ruins. She looked at her claws, still glowing hot from cutting steel. There was no joy in her eyes, no anger either, only silence. She walked to a broken screen, now flickering. On it, she saw something strange. A human face. Not live. Just an old image. A soldier. Calm. Eyes like storms. Her claws paused. Somewhere in the darkness of space, a ship moved without sound. Inside, Commander Reeve checked his gear. Not weapons. Tools. He didn't plan to fight with fire. He planned to fight with understanding. She shredded steel with her claws, yes. But she had not faced a human warrior yet. He looked at the file again. Subject: Vakera. Species: Tarkine. Status: Rogue. Known for close combat, high-speed movement, extreme damage. One note caught his eye. She leaves no survivors, except once. A child. Alien. Alive. Why? Why spare one? That was not the move of a monster. That was the move of something more. The ship landed silently on the dead planet. Reeve stepped out. The ground was dry, cracked, silent. He moved through the ruins of the outpost. Claw marks everywhere. Deep ones. One piece of metal had a message scratched into it. 3 words. "I remember everything." Reeve stared at the words for a long time. Then he smiled. "She's not just a killer," he whispered. "She's making the statement." He turned and looked toward the mountains. Dust blew in the wind. "She's watching me," he said softly. "Good." He pulled out a small black cube from his jacket and dropped it onto the ground. A light blinked. A signal was sent. Then he vanished into the dust. Arrival of the human. The desert planet didn't speak. It didn't need to. Its silence told a story, one of destruction, fear, and something dark that moved under the twin suns. The winds had slowed. The air itself felt like it was holding its breath. Far above, slicing through the planet's atmosphere, came a small ship. No flags, no warning, just a black arrow falling from the stars. Inside sat one man. He was not afraid. Commander Reeve didn't believe in fear. He believed in patterns, in shadows, in reading between the lines. He'd faced monsters on ice planets, machines on fire worlds, and things in the dark that didn't have names. But this was different. She wasn't a beast. She wasn't a weapon. She was a message with claws. As the ship landed with a soft thud, the dust danced away. Reeve stepped out slowly, scanning the horizon. No armor, no heavy rifle, just a dark jacket, light boots, and eyes that had seen too much. He didn't need more, because he wasn't just a soldier. He was human, and in this part of the galaxy that still meant something. The ground was cracked beneath his feet, covered in strange patterns, not natural, not random. Claw trails. Reeve knelt beside one. Deep, clean, straight. These weren't made in rage, he muttered. They were made with control. He walked slowly toward the remains of the steel outpost. Burned metal, torn towers, broken walls like crushed paper, and in the middle of it all, silence. The robots had been ripped apart, but not randomly. One by one, room by room. She moved with purpose. He found a steel door half hanging off its hinges. 3 long claw marks ran through it like butter. On the wall beside it, someone had carved words with what looked like a single claw. "We were never the monsters." Reeve narrowed his eyes. That wasn't the voice of a killer. That was the voice of someone betrayed. Back in orbit, in the control center of the Terran fleet, officers watched Reeve's signal. One of them turned to the general. "Why him?" she asked. "Why not send a full strike team?" The general didn't answer right away. He simply watched Reeve move through the wreckage like a shadow. "Because she doesn't fear armies," he finally said. "She's faced fleets, machines, bombs. She walked through them like they were made of paper. But a human alone." He paused. "That's the only thing in this galaxy even she doesn't understand." Down on the planet, Reeve stood still. He felt something. A vibration. Barely there. Like the earth had a heartbeat. He turned fast. Nothing. But he knew. She's near. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't shout. He just kept walking. Every step was slow. Controlled. Each movement calculated. He was bait now, and he knew it. But that was the point. Far away, hidden among the rocks, Vakera watched him. Her golden eyes narrowed. Her claws flexed slowly. This human was different. Others had screamed, fired weapons, died fast. But not him. He walked like she did, like a predator. He studied. He read the land. He smelled the air. And worst of all, he was calm. That made him dangerous. That made her curious. Reeve reached an open platform, the only place untouched by the destruction. A tall metal structure stood in the center, still humming with weak power. He stepped forward and placed a small black disc on the floor. A light blinked green. He began speaking softly, recording a message. "This is Commander Reeve. Planet Vorta-9. Objective: contain or neutralize subject Vakera. Update: she is not a beast. She is not a mistake. She is making a point." He stopped, eyes scanning the broken sky. "She kills machines because they follow orders without asking questions." Another pause. She's not killing humans yet, which means, maybe, just maybe, she's waiting for one who'll listen. Suddenly, a sharp sound. Not loud, but deliberate. He turned slowly. Nothing. The shadows were deep. The wind had returned. He looked to his left, then right. Still nothing, but he smiled. "She's testing me," he whispered. "Good." He pulled something from his pocket. Not a gun. A book. Small, old, torn edges. He flipped it open and tore out one page. He folded it carefully and placed it on the ground. The page said, "Even steel can break, but a mind that listens can win a war without lifting a hand." Then he stood and walked away. Slow, calm, silent. Watching. Waiting. Behind him, far in the shadows, golden eyes blinked once, then vanished. First encounter. The night on Vortenine wasn't like night on Earth. There were no stars here. No moon. Just endless black and a sky that felt like it was watching. Commander Reeves stood at the edge of a shattered canyon. Below him, shadows moved like smoke. Wind howled across the cliffs, carrying dust, secrets, and something else. A scent. It was faint. Not blood. Not oil. Heat. Rage. Hunger. He closed his eyes for a moment and let it wash over him. "She's close," he whispered. And she was. Vakera crouched behind jagged stone, high on the canyon wall. Her breath was silent, her body perfectly still. Only her claws twitched. She had watched humans before, soldiers with loud guns, loud hearts, and louder fear. But this one was different. He didn't smell like prey. He smelled like a challenge. Vakera didn't run from a challenge. She lived for it. Reef moved carefully now, every step placed with purpose. He had no light, no scanner, no armor. He didn't need it. He was reading the land. He saw where the rocks had shifted, where sand had been brushed aside by something not human. He touched the ground, warm, recently moved. Suddenly, his hand brushed something hard beneath the sand. He dug gently. A steel skull. Robot. Torn open by claws. But inside the head, something strange. A drawing. Scratched on the metal surface with a sharp tool. 3 figures. A child, a warrior, and a monster. The lines were clear. The warrior had the same eyes as Reeve. "She's studying us," he said to himself. "She learns fast." He stood slowly. His hand stayed near his belt, not for a weapon, but for something else. A tool. He was building a trap. But not a trap for the body. A trap for the mind. Vakera moved silently across the rocks, barely making the sound. She watched him from above, claws ready. She could leap. She could end it now. But something stopped her. He had placed something on the ground. A small circle. Not a bomb. Not a mine. It was a music player. He pressed a button. Old human music filled the canyon. A piano. Soft, slow, sad. Vakera froze. This wasn't a weapon. It was a memory. And it hit her like fire. Flashback. Years ago. Her planet. Her people. Before the war. Before the betrayal. She had a name once that wasn't feared. A sister. A home. She remembered the sound of wind through crystal trees. Laughter. Then, fire. Bombs. Machines. Her people were marked as threats. She became a weapon. They gave her a number. But she carved her name back with claws. Vakera. The last claw of the Tarkine. Back in the present, Reeve stood still. He could feel her now. Watching. Listening. He spoke softly. "You remember music," he said. "That means you remember pain." No reply. He placed a second object on the ground. A small mirror. He angled it toward the canyon wall, where the stars would have been, if there were any left. "It's not much," he said, "but it reflects what's above." even in a dead sky. Still silence. But something shifted in the air, a whisper of movement, a blur. She struck. From the left. Fast, faster than any human could follow. Claws sliced through the air. But Reeve had already moved. Not away. Toward her. He ducked low, sliding across the sand. Her claws missed by inches. Sparks flew as they scraped stone. She landed with force, cracking the ground beneath her feet. They faced each other for the first time. Man and monster. But in that moment, neither saw a monster. They saw a mirror. "You're not what they say you are," Reeve said. Vakera tilted her head, claws still ready. Her voice, when it came, was low and rough, like thunder underwater. "And you are not afraid. That makes you rare. I've seen fear, fought it, buried it." "Then you know," she growled. "What comes next?" He didn't blink. "I'm not here to kill you." She moved closer. The tips of her claws almost touched his chest. "Then why come alone?" she asked. "To prove that not all humans are machines," he said. "Some of us still listen." She didn't strike. Not yet. Something in his words held her back, like a chain made of thought instead of metal. Then her eyes narrowed. "You left a message behind," she said. Words scratched into steel. "A mind that listens can win a war." "That wasn't for you," Reeve said. "Liar." She slashed, fast and sharp. He blocked it with a metal rod from his belt. Sparks exploded. He slid back but didn't fall. Blood dripped from his arm. He smiled through the pain. "You needed to see that I bleed." She stopped. For a second, just a second. Her claws lowered. "You're not like the others," she said. "No," Reeve said. "And neither are you." They stood there, face to face, in the broken canyon. No more words, just understanding. But understanding was dangerous, because it meant the game had changed. Now it wasn't about strength. It was about choice, and neither of them trusted what came next. High above, a drone watched silently from the clouds. It sent one message back to command. Contact made. He survived. She hesitated. The chase. The wind had changed. It no longer carried the smell of fear. Now it carried something far more dangerous. Curiosity. Vakera leaped from rock to rock across the canyon wall, silent as ever. Her golden eyes scanned the ground below. Tracks. Marks. Small signs left behind. But not by mistake. On purpose. Commander Reeve was no longer hiding. He was leading. And Vakera didn't like that. Just hours ago, she could have killed him. She'd aimed for his heart. Her claws had tasted his blood. And he smiled. No scream. No panic. Just a look. Steady. Calm. A message. "Now you know I bleed. But I don't break." She had fought machines, monsters, warlords. They all wanted something. Power, fear, control. But this human, he wanted understanding. And now he was running. But not like prey. He was challenging her. Far away, in the quiet shadows of a ruined satellite tower, Reeve moved carefully through the broken halls. Dust fell like snow. Steel beams groaned under old weight. He wasn't looking for safety. He was setting the board. A mental battlefield. Every corner, every wall. A choice. Where to stand. Where to watch. Where to leave a clue. This wasn't about weapons. It was about control. He planted a small object on the wall. A motion beacon, not to detect her. To let her detect him. He left it blinking, loud and obvious. Then vanished into the dark. Minutes later, Vakera arrived. She crouched by the beacon, claws ready. It pulsed red. A trap. But not for her body. For her trust. She slashed it, sparks flying. Then something behind her beeped. A second beacon. Hidden. A voice played from it. Reeve's voice, soft, calm. "You're fast, But speed isn't enough when you're predictable. She turned sharply. No one there. Only silence. And her heartbeat, faster than it should be. Flashback, years earlier. She had chased rebels through burning forests. Fast, merciless. She hunted with instinct, killed with honor. Then, one day, a child hid in a tree. She saw him. He saw her. He didn't run. He just said, "Please, don't." And she didn't. She turned and walked away. Even now, that memory burned brighter than any battle. Reeve moved through an old comm station now, eyes sharp. He found a shattered screen, still blinking weak signals. He connected his portable transmitter. A voice played, not his. Vaquera's, a recording pulled from battle logs. One word, enough. He had filtered hours of data to find it. A single moment when she refused to finish a kill. A moment of mercy. That was the weak point. That was the truth. "She's not the enemy," he whispered. "She's the warning." Vaquera landed on the roof of the station. She stared down through the broken glass. She could see him. He didn't look up. He wanted her to see him. He was bait. Again. But her claws didn't move. Her mind did. Why did this human want to talk? What was he really after? And why, for the first time in years, did she feel something that wasn't anger? Doubt. She dropped in front of him. He didn't flinch. They stood 3 meters apart. No weapons drawn. Just silence. Then Reeve spoke. "You could have killed me twice." "I still can," she growled. "But you won't," he said, "because I'm not your enemy. You wear the face of those who burn my world. I wear the face of a soldier, but I think you're more than one." She didn't reply. Instead, she stepped forward. Claws out. Each step echoed through the empty room. Reeve didn't move. "You leave messages behind," he said. "Steel walls. Broken drones. I read them." She stopped. Her voice was cold. "Then tell me, what do you think they mean?" Reeve held her stare. "I think you don't want war." He paused. "I think you want someone to understand why you fight." That word hit her harder than any bullet. "Why?" "I had a sister," Vaquera said suddenly. Her voice cracked, just a little. Reeve stayed quiet. "She died when your kind decided my people were too dangerous." She raised her claws. "So I became the danger." Reeve nodded slowly. "You became the warning they didn't listen to." She looked at him for a long time. Then whispered, "This chase ends now." Reeve raised an eyebrow. "Because you'll kill me." She shook her head. "No." She looked away, toward the stars, or where they should have been. "Because I've seen enough." But just then, the floor beneath them shook. A sound, low, mechanical. Old systems powering up. Reeve's transmitter flickered. The signal was hijacked. A new voice broke through. "Target locked. Human and hostile alien. Firestorm protocol authorized." Reeve's eyes went wide. "No." Vaquera hissed. "What have you done?" "I didn't send it," he shouted. A red dot appeared on the floor. Then 2. Then 20. Above them, a Terran drone swarm began to descend. Heat signatures locked on both of them. Not just her. Him too. Back in command, the general watched the screen. "Too much risk," he said coldly. "Wipe the slate clean." In the canyon, Reeve and Vaquera looked at each other, enemies no longer. Just two survivors, betrayed by the same system. The chase was over. Now they ran together. Clash of wills. The sky was on fire. Red streaks cut through the darkness, each one a missile searching for life to erase. The drone swarm moved like a metal storm, silent, perfect, merciless. Commander Reeve ran hard, but he wasn't running alone. Beside him, her claws tearing into the ground for grip, was Vaquera, the predator and the soldier. Once enemies, now Not quite allies, but both betrayed, both hunted. They're locking onto you, she shouted over the roar of the wind. Wrong, Reeve said, ducking behind a steel pillar. They're locking onto us. He slammed a button on his wrist console. A blue shield activated, barely covering their bodies. It shimmered like a bubble as a missile slammed into the canyon wall behind them, turning rock into fire. Vakera growled. Your people sent you to die. He wiped blood from his forehead. No, they sent me to clean up their mistake. Her golden eyes flashed. You mean me? No, he said, standing. I mean this entire war. Another blast shook the ground. The shield cracked. Vakera launched forward, slashing a drone midair. It spun out of control and exploded. Reeve fired an EMP dart into the air, disabling two more. They fought back to back. Not in sync. Not yet. But something was building between them. A rhythm. 5 drones down. 12 more in sight. They leaped into the remains of an old reactor chamber, the sky ceiling above them like a steel lid. Silence, for a moment. Only their breathing filled the space. She turned to him. This is your world's answer to peace. He leaned against a rusted console. They don't want peace. They want control. And what do you want? Reeve looked at her, eyes tired but focused. I want the war to end before we all lose the reason we started fighting. She stared at him for a long moment. Then her claws retracted. Words, she said softly. But I've heard them before. Flashback. The day her world burned. Vakera stood in a city made of crystal, its towers shattered by orbital fire. Humans had come with peace flags. They'd offered friendship. And then the bombs fell. She remembered a man's voice from a loudspeaker. This is for your protection. She remembered the screams of children. And she remembered that she didn't scream. She sharpened her claws instead. Back in the reactor chamber, she turned away. I trusted once, she said. It ended with ash. Reeve stepped closer. You didn't spare that child on the forest moon because of logic. She stiffened. You did it because something inside you refused to become what they called you. Don't pretend to know me, human. I don't, he admitted. But I see you. He pulled something from his bag. A small photo, old and torn. A woman and child. My sister, he said. They died in the first contact war. I was a soldier even then. He looked up, and I was taught you were monsters. Vakera looked at the photo. Not at the faces. At the way his hand shook as he held it. And she believed him, not with logic, with instinct. Suddenly, a heavy sound echoed through the chamber. A thud. Then another. Not drones. Something bigger. The wall behind them cracked open, and a massive ground-class Terran mech stepped inside. 10 meters tall, armored like a tank, eyes glowing red. It spoke in a cold, artificial voice. Commander Reeve. Target. Compromised. Execution authorized. Reeve stepped in front of Vakera. You fire. You betray every order you gave me. The mech's voice replied. Orders updated. Protocol override. Mission. Full erasure. Vakera growled. Machines do not change their minds. Only living things do. Reeve smiled. Exactly. They ran. Not away. Forward. Straight at the mech. Reeve ducked and rolled to the left. Vakera sprinted to the right, her claws sparking against steel as she climbed the wall like a shadow. The mech aimed both guns at Reeve. Vakera leaped from above and plunged her claws into the mech's neck joint. Sparks flew. It roared. Reeve jumped up and jammed an EMP device into its core. The mech froze, twitching, then collapsed with a crash. Silence again. Heavy. Final. Reeve dropped to his knees. Not from injury. From the weight of everything. He looked up at her. You saved my life. She crossed her arms. Now we're even. No, he said. Now we're Something else. She raised an eyebrow. What? I don't know yet, he said. But maybe we start with not trying to kill each other. Vakera laughed. Not loud, not soft, but real. And that changed everything. Outside the broken chamber, night returned. But now they stood together, not as enemies, not yet as friends, but as something new, something stronger. Above them, in D-orbit, the general watched the blackout signal from Vorta 9. Send in a cleansing wave, he ordered. But someone interrupted. Sir, they're working together now. The general's face went pale. That's impossible. The officer turned the screen toward him. Reeve and Vakera, standing side by side. Not as soldier and monster, but as equals. The silent war. The ground swallowed them whole. When the reactor collapsed, Reeve and Vakera didn't scream. They just fell, together, into darkness, 100 meters down, through steel and dust and silence. When Reeve opened his eyes, there was no sky, no wind, no sound, just black, complete, pure. He coughed, his voice bouncing back to him like it had nowhere else to go. Vakera. No reply. He tapped his wrist console. Nothing. Dead. The EMP from the mech's core had killed every device. He was blind. Deaf. Alone. Or maybe not alone. Then he heard it. Not a sound. A breath. Very close. Behind him. He didn't move. Didn't speak. His fingers slowly reached for the emergency light stick on his belt. He cracked it. A soft green glow lit the space around him. Shadows danced on the cracked walls of an old tunnel, ancient, forgotten. Pipes hummed like dead vines. Broken signs in alien languages. And there she was. Vakera. Kneeling. Watching. Silent as stone. You're alive, Reeve said, almost smiling. She didn't answer. Not with words. She stood slowly and stepped into the glow. Her armor was cracked, her claws stained with dust, but her eyes, they were calm. You saved me, Reeve said. I didn't carry you, she replied. No, but you didn't leave. That's not the same as saving. Reeve tilted his head. It is for someone like you. The tunnel was tight, claustrophobic. Everything echoed strangely. Even their footsteps sounded like whispers. This place, Vakera muttered, it remembers pain. Reeve nodded. Old war zone. Probably from the first Karkin rebellion. Buried after the human occupation. She ran her hand along the wall. My people bled here. And mine forgot. They walked in silence for a long time. No lights. No signals. No maps. Only their breath, their thoughts, and the distant sound of dripping water. Then they found the bones. Not human. Not Sarkeen. Something else. Reeve crouched beside the remains. Organic machine. Biofused alloy skeleton. This wasn't built by humans. Vakera studied it. Not built by mine, either. They both looked down the tunnel. It went deeper. Much deeper. They moved on. Not side by side. But not apart either. Like two pieces of a puzzle still turning to fit. Hours passed. Or minutes. Time felt strange underground. They came upon a sealed door. Rust covered it like rot. Vakera touched it, and the door hissed open. Still power? Reeve asked. No, she said. Just memory. Inside was a room. Small. Round. In the center was a broken table. And something on it. A helmet. Reeve picked it up. Dust fell off it like ash. Terran military issue. Very old. But what caught his eye was the writing scratched into its side. I heard her song. I didn't fire. Reeve swallowed hard. A soldier, he whispered. Like me. Vakera said nothing. But she sat on the floor across from him. Not out of weakness, but reflection. In the silence, they began to speak. Really speak. No fire, no claws, only voice. Reeve told her about Earth, about what peace looked like when no one was watching, about forests, about oceans. Vakera told him about her sister's laugh, about how the stars looked from her homeworld before the sky turned red. He listened. She remembered. Then she said something he didn't expect. I could have become a queen. Reeve blinked. You were royalty. No, but I was next in line to lead the Guardian caste. I chose the battlefield instead. Why? Her eyes lowered. To protect the ones who would never see the stars again. She looked up. And when they died, I became the stars. Reeve stood, stepping closer. You're not a weapon, he said. You're a survivor. And you're not just a soldier, she replied. You're a bridge. He nodded. But then something moved in the wall. A low groan, a hiss. From the shadows, eyes opened. Dozens. No machines. No drones. Living things. Six-legged metallic-scaled creatures with red veins and no faces. Burrowers. Ancient species, woken by their voices. Hunters of sound. Reeve pulled a knife, quietly. Vakera raised a claw, but didn't move. One wrong breath, and they'd attack. She whispered, You led us into a grave. No, Reeve replied, steady. We're just walking through it. They backed away slowly, step by step, until the eyes disappeared, and the tunnel was quiet again. Eventually, they found another room, smaller, safer. They sealed the door behind them and sat down, not across from each other this time, next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. Reeve closed his eyes. Back on the surface, he said, We were enemies. We still are, Vakera replied. But her tone was soft, tired, not from war, from the weight of it. Maybe, Reeve said, we don't have to be tomorrow. She didn't answer, but she didn't leave either. In the silent war below the stars, that was the first real victory. The last cut. The silence had a heartbeat. Reeve felt it before he heard it. A slow, deep pulse coming from somewhere below them. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't an animal. It was something ancient, awake, and angry. He and Vakera stood at the edge of a broken stairwell, deep in the underground ruins. Everything behind them had collapsed. The only path left was down. There's something here, Reeve said. Vakera nodded slowly. Not just history, a weapon. Buried. She stared into the dark below. They left it here to be forgotten. And we woke it up, Reeve added. As they descended, the light from their last glowstick faded. Still, they moved forward. Together. Not as predator and prey. Not as soldier and assassin. But as something new. At the bottom, they found it. A chamber larger than anything above. In the center stood a massive machine. Tall, twisted, alive but asleep. It pulsed red like a heartbeat. Giant cables ran into the walls like veins. Vakera stepped forward. This is not human tech, she whispered. Reeve scanned it with a small device. Surprisingly, it sparked to life. No, this is precursor. She turned to him. Your kind didn't build this. He shook his head. No, but they found it, and they buried it. Suddenly, the chamber came alive. Lights burst to life. The floor vibrated, and in the center, a hologram appeared. A face. Not human. Not Sarkeen. Smooth. Pale. Unreadable. It spoke in a strange layered voice. Protocol Alpha Rebirth initiated. Species war reached failure threshold. Initiating purge sequence. Reeve stepped forward. Wait. No. Stop. The voice ignored him. Purge code locked. Planetary sterilization. Active. Countdown. 10 minutes. Vakera growled. What does that mean? Reeve clenched his fists. It means the machine was a failsafe. a last-ditch weapon, to wipe out everything left. They ran to the console. Nothing responded. Touchscreens shattered. Controls locked. The system had one rule. If war couldn't end by choice, it would end by force. We triggered it, Reeve said. We came too deep. It thinks we're the final battle. Vaquera looked at him. Then we must convince it. We're not. The hologram spoke again. 2 signals detected. Human. Oxarchine. Genetic conflict confirmed. Vaquera stood tall. No conflict, she said. Only survivors. The machine paused. Prove it. A new platform rose from the floor. 2 blades. Ancient. Clean. Sharp as light. Reeve stepped back. No. Vaquera's eyes narrowed. It wants one to die. Peace through sacrifice, the voice said. One must fall. The other walks free. The chamber fell silent. Reeve looked at the blade, then at Vaquera. I won't fight you. Vaquera didn't move, but her claws slowly extended. You might have to, she said. He frowned. You're not serious. I've lost everything already, she replied. A planet, a people, a sister. She looked at the machine. If one death stops this, let it be mine. Reeve stepped forward. No. You don't understand. No. I do. He reached for the blade, then dropped it. I won't let you die for peace. Vaquera stared at him. Her claws retracted slowly. You're choosing death. I'm choosing hope. She stepped closer, their faces only inches apart now. This is your last chance to win. Reeve smiled. I didn't come here to win. The machine paused again. No strike detected. Delay violates protocol. It began to power up, energy flooding the walls. Reeve shouted, listen to us. But it didn't. Then Vaquera moved. Fast. Too fast to stop. She grabbed the blade, spun, and sliced. Not at Reeve, at herself. But at the last moment, Reeve caught her hand. Their arms shook, muscles strained. No, he growled. There's another way. And suddenly, the machine stopped. Contact. Resisted. Conflict. Denied. It paused for a long moment. Sacrifice rejected. Compassion detected. Logic overridden. The lights dimmed. The heartbeat stopped. Then, peace. Possible. The machine powered down. The blade fell from her hand. And silence returned. Reeve collapsed beside her, breathing hard. You were really going to do it, he whispered. She looked away. I thought I had nothing left to protect. She looked at him again. But I was wrong. Hours later, they climbed back to the surface. The stars had returned. For the first time, the wind didn't sound like a warning. Vaquera looked at the sky. What now? Reeve smiled. We tell them the truth, all of them. That monsters can become more. And that peace is not weakness. She nodded slowly. And if they don't listen. He looked at her, not as a threat, not as a mission, but as a partner. Then we make them. Far away, in the command center of the Terran fleet, a report came in. Signal restored. Data uploaded. 2 figures seen walking out of the ruins. Together. Alive. And above it all, something washed. A new force. Stronger. Darker. Unseen. Until now. Its voice echoed across deep space. They stopped the purge. They passed the test. The humans and the Tarkine. A pause. Then, begin phase 2.